Why did it have to be you, Tyler? You was working so hard. You was proving all the haters wrong. You better than Desmond Bane. That man was 4-16 today, but you had to go down. Oh, what a tragic gut punch. But I'm going to have to go ahead and put this away now because I'm not going to lie, the meat munching was getting kind of out of hand. But it is very sad to see what happened to Tyler Herro. Obviously, you don't want to see anyone get hurt. And I do really like Tyler Herro a lot. And if y'all missed the game, didn't see what happened, he unfortunately went down at the end of the first quarter with a kind of bad looking ankle injury. Was going up for a little bit of a floater. Accidentally landed on the back of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s heel. You saw the ankle go... and it didn't look good. He immediately got up on one leg and hopped straight to the locker room. If it was LeBron, he would have just relaced his shoes and kept going. But that's LeBron. He is the one of a kind. But it didn't look pretty. Initially, you thought maybe it could be one of the things he could just tighten up and get back out there to stop the swelling. But the Heat unfortunately said pretty quickly that he would miss the rest of the game. And then it was after the game, Tyler Herro actually said that he would probably, well, I'll read and I quote. He said, "I'll probably miss a couple weeks, but I'll be back soon." So at first you're like, okay, a couple weeks isn't too bad. Unless by a couple he means 6 to 8, which is what I think may be the likely / worst case scenario. I don't really know. I'm not a doctor, believe it or not. But then he also went on to say, Tyler Herro, he said, after saying, I'll be back soon, he said that he heard a crack and a pop in his ankle. Now, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but that don't sound good to me. So that was very frustrating, especially when you know this was a monster season for Tyler Herro. You could start back last playoffs. It was a prove-it playoffs for Tyler Herro after flaming out the year before. And in the first game versus the Bucks, after he had a very strong start, he unfortunately dove for the ball, broke his wrist, missed the rest of the postseason. And now you had this whole offseason. Everyone wants to trade him for Damian Lillard. Some people even want to trade him for James Harden or just get him off the roster in general. He comes into this season and has an amazing start to the year. He's at like 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, great efficiency from the field and from 3. And then in the 7th game of the year, we unfortunately get his ankle injury, and it's looking like he's going to miss quite a bit of time. Very sad because I was very... it's obviously a relatively boring Heat team because you're bringing back a lot of the same players for the 5th year now. But Tyler Herro was one of the guys that you were able to look at and say, wow, this guy's fun to watch. This guy has taken a visible and there's almost a tangible improvement in his game from this year to last year. That was one of the most exciting things to watch this year. And it's unfortunate that they're going to be missing that for quite some time now. I think it may be hard to recover from that. And I'll just let y'all know right now, we'll get into some positives from the win versus the Memphis Grizzlies because there was a few. But I do want to just talk about Tyler because for me, that was the most important part of the game. This Heat team will likely struggle without him. We know they have problems scoring the ball, and he was their best scorer just the other night versus, who did they almost lose to the other night? Was it the Lakers game where they didn't score for it was the Lakers game. They didn't score for the last 4 minutes. And that was with Tyler Herro. Imagine how the offense might struggle without Tyler Herro. Now, obviously, Jimmy Butler last night versus the Memphis Grizzlies, or I say last night because I'll probably upload this in the morning, but I'm recording this the night of the game. Well, actually, it's past midnight because I was on the Basement Sports Network's post-game show live on YouTube where we do post-game stream reactions after every game. I was on tonight. It was a hilarious episode, so make sure y'all go subscribe to The Basement for the best post-game content, instant reaction. But promo aside, I think I was talking about Tyler Herro and his scoring. They're going to struggle. Jimmy Butler only had 15 points versus the Grizzlies. We know he doesn't care about the regular season. I'm not going to keep talking about it because I don't want to sound like a broken record. But I do think they're going to need to start to get some more from him, at least in the meantime until Herro comes back, because you're going to need the scoring from somewhere. They just got back to 500 after starting the season 1-4. They were able to roll out 3 straight wins and get their first road win. I don't want to dig themselves back in a hole. They were fortunate enough to be 500 at the 8-game mark now. I want to keep it that way. I want to build upon this because last season they got off to a 2-5 start, and I don't believe they got comfortably over 500 ever, but I don't think they really stayed over 500 till quite later in the season. Obviously, they ended up in the play-in game, and we all know how they were a Max Strus explosion from missing the playoffs entirely. My goal this year is to miss the play-in, meaning make the playoffs, not be an 11th, the 15th seed. I want to be a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. You got to start stringing the wins together now, because the Milwaukee Bucks just had a great bounce back win. The 76ers are somehow 6-1. Boston has obviously had a strong start to the year. The other teams are playing very, very well. You can't fall too far behind them, even though those 3 teams I've just mentioned might be the top tier regular season teams. We don't care about the regular season, because come postseason, we busting Philly's ass again. We busting Boston's ass again. And don't even get me started on Milwaukee. That team already got blown out twice this year. I don't care if they beat the Heat, because I guess they did actually blow out the Heat already. But that team has proven that they're not unstoppable, at least yet. I get it's only been 8 games and they need some time to mesh, but that's besides the point. We're here to talk about the Miami Heat. Where else can they get scoring from to alleviate the Tyler Herro loss for the next few weeks, we'll say? Well, I made a half joke on the Basement Sports Network where I said they need to give double, maybe triple the shots to one Haywood Highsmith, who y'all know I wasn't high on, but I've been giving him his credit this year. And he had another really impactful game versus the Grizzlies. I think he was like 2 or 3 from 3, but even in addition to that, he hit some floaters, some nice push shots in the lane, had a couple blocks, including back-to-back ones on Santi Aldama. That was just nasty by Highsmith. You love to see it. But it really looks like his offensive game as a whole has got much improved, because last year he could hit the occasional open 3, but outside of that, he was trash on offense. But this year he looks a little bit more versatile, so maybe they can look to him for at least a couple extra buckets a game, but he's certainly not going to take full advantage of the scoring load. Maybe it comes from Duncan Robinson, another guy I wasn't super high on coming into the season, but he's off to another blazing start, averaging over 11 points per game on very efficient shooting, and he had another nice night versus the Grizzlies. He will obviously get some more minutes, and I'm sure it'll lead to a lot more shot attempts, and that is something that I think is going to be very beneficial, because he is also proven to be a much more versatile offensive player. They showed a statistic tonight on Bally Sports. Basically, I think for like every year of his career, actually, he's been over 80% on what percentage of his shot attempts are from 3. And he even got up to as high as like 89% of his shots were from 3 a couple years ago. And this season, he's all the way down to 69% of his shots are from 3. So it's still a large majority, but now you're getting, 31%? That's 2s. And you can tell from his versatility on the offensive end has opened up so much for this team. The way he's able to cut is creating space for the guys on the outside to throw these little bounce passes to him in the lane. The way he's running breaks, he's driving baseline. It's opening up the offense a lot more, because now the defense is having to chase him around the center of the court instead of just around the perimeter, going in a circle over and over and over again, which was always very beneficial. He always kept the defense honest, but now he's doing it for a bigger area on the court. So he'll obviously get a lot more minutes with Tyler Herro being out. If he can capitalize, I do think he's a guy that can contribute a decent amount of points. You also got Josh Richardson, who's having a very poor start to the season. I don't know when he turned into such a bad offensive player. I was wondering how the Heat got him for a minimum deal. They said that he did the Heat a favor by taking less money. I'm starting to think maybe the Heat did him a favor by giving him a contract at all, because the offense obviously isn't there. The defense doesn't particularly seem to be there. That's been a little disappointing. Now, he was hurt in the preseason, I guess in the offseason a little bit as well. So maybe if you give him some time to get his legs under him, I don't know. Am I reaching there? I very likely am. But regardless, you're not going to look to him to be a super big offensive player out there. I still think you're mostly looking for the defense, which I'm hoping he still can get better at. But maybe you can get some points from Jaime Jaquez Jr., who had another really great game versus the Grizzlies, including a monster 3, because the Heat did what they do. They blew another lead. They were up 6 points. Well, they were up double digits a lot of the game. But then at the very end, they were up 6 points. And Kyle Lowry had the ball with a chance to run an offense, because he's our high IQ veteran quarterback leader. Y'all know the drill. We go through this every game. But yet their late game execution sucks. Kyle Lowry had a turnover, which led directly to a Santi Aldama 3, which cut the Heat lead to 3 with 35 seconds left. But on the ensuing offensive possession, Jaime Jaquez Jr. hit a monster 3 from the corner, and that was basically all that she wrote. So y'all know that was good to see from him, because I've said many times, outside of his jump shooting, his everything else has been great, and that continued last night. Had very, very great defensive possessions, had his same usual drives and stuff and fast break layups. He's very well finishing at the rim. We know his post game is great, and he seems to be capable at hitting a 3. And if he can improve upon that, you'll certainly look to him to get a lot of buckets. I'm hoping that Caleb Martin can come back sometime soon. I'd love to see him in the starting lineup. I mean, that'd give you a lineup of Kyle Lowry, and then Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Haywood Highsmith. That is absolutely phenomenal defensively. And people may say, oh, well, the shooting is not great. It's not as good as if you had Tyler. But Caleb Martin was 35% from 3 last year. We know he's capable of shooting the ball. And Haywood Highsmith is 50% from 3 this year. That's not sustainable, but it proves that he can shoot the ball from the arc. He's very, very good at spacing the floor. So I wouldn't have a ton of spacing concerns if Caleb Martin was going to start. And even if he's not shooting the ball from 3, great. We know he can get you a bucket. He's very good at driving and attacking the rim, something that I think any team can ever use. So I do hope that Caleb Martin can come back soon, because I think he'll help with that scoring load a ton. Maybe you even see some Nikola Jovic, because we know Spo doesn't like to mess the lineups too much and take a guy that was on the bench and bring him into the starting lineup. So he likely won't start Jaime Jaquez, maybe. Even though he did try that earlier this year, it didn't go great. But maybe his hand is forced now. Or he can start Nikola Jovic, who wasn't playing anyways. So therefore, he's not really messing up any rotation. Now you'd be playing Jovic at the 2. A lot of people want to see him at the point guard spot. So we know he at least has some handle and the capability of playing in the backcourt. So maybe that's something we see. I hope it's one of the options I listed, because if not, it's going to be Drew Smith, which is not what I want to see, or any Heat fan wants to see. That was the most unfortunate part of last night's game, is Tyler Herro went down and he was replaced instantly by Drew Smith, which led to my hell on earth, which is a Kyle Lowry, Drew Smith lineup, which is the worst thing that I can ever imagine, truthfully. But let's talk a little bit more about last night's game. Bam Adebayo, 30 points, 11 rebounds, I believe, unless the NBA takes away another rebound like they did against the Lakers, who I'm sure y'all heard. But I love to see it. Bam Adebayo continues the aggressiveness. That was pretty much every Heat fan's biggest gripe on him, is will he show up? Will he be aggressive? Every game so far, we've seen that. But what I like even more is it seems like he's taking the matchups personally that should be personal. For example, everybody's saying that Anthony Davis is a better defender, better player than him. He shut those conversations down as quickly as anybody could, the way he dominated him just last game. Everybody's saying that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better player than Bam Adebayo, a better defender, just won DPOY last year. Bam Adebayo took his lunch money today. I actually don't know what JJJ did. I don't feel like he was bad. Yeah, he still had 28 points. So JJJ was fine, but obviously 28 and 4 is not as good as Bam's 30 and 11, who really just throughout the entire game was very impactful. 16 free throw attempts. Bam made 14 of them. That's the sign of aggression right there. Not to mention the confidence just pulling up with that mid-range jump shot, not even hesitating. The second he gets an inch of space, he's pulling, he's making it. Even against the Lakers game, AD backed up top of the key. Half a second later, Bam said no hesitation, pulling from 3, cash. That's the confidence that I love to see from Bam. Again, started last season, pretty much the first half the same way, tailed off in the second half. So I will be cautiously optimistic when it comes to Bam, but I am very hopeful, and I have 0 complaints to start the year for Bam Adebayo. We talked about Jimmy Butler only had 15 points. Don't care. As long as he's playoff Jimmy come playoff time, I will never criticize anything he does in the regular season unless they dig themselves in too far of a hole. And then you got to see Jimmy start to try a little bit. But Kyle Lowry, we kind of, talked bad about him this video a little bit. But he was awesome tonight. 17 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. Outside of that late turnover, can't really criticize what he did. Now, will we see this kind of production from Kyle Lowry consistently? Hell no. Will we see it from Kyle Lowry again? Likely not. But I'll take it tonight because I have no other choice, and I doubt he's going to do it again. So I'm just going to take it. I don't think there's really anybody else I want to talk about from this game from the Heat side. Certainly not from the Grizzlies side, outside of, once again, Desmond Bane. 416. He's not better than Tyler Herro. He very well might be. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. But the Heat do have the Atlanta Hawks next game. That team's been playing very well. DeJounte Murray has been hooping to start this year. They are currently 4-3, so they've been playing well as a team. And I'm just going to keep naming statistics because I haven't really watched a lot of Hawks basketball this year, so I don't know too much about them. But they got the same roster, man. John Collins is rotting away in Utah, and that white boy is in Sacramento. That's about the only difference this Hawks team has made in the last few seasons. So they are a solid team. They've beat us many times in the regular season in the past. You can't take them lightly. It will be a difficult game without Tyler Herro, and Bam has consistently struggled versus Clint Capella. I'm assuming Clint Capella's playing. I'm not even entirely sure, to be honest, but he's throughout history struggled with those big lumbering type centers. Capella's one of them. So I look for Bam to hopefully, it'd be a good sign if he can continue this level of play. But they need to get a win. They just got to 500. I don't want to drop down below. And they got a ton of road games coming up, some against some pretty good teams, I'd imagine. So you want to try to beat the teams that you know are not as better than you, at least on paper. I think I could say that. But anyways, let me know what y'all think what happened versus the Hawks. Let me know about your reactions to the Tyler Herro injury, how the Heat will recover, or just any overall thoughts on the team. But most importantly, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, because it does help me out a lot. And we're less than 150 subscribers away from 3K. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that for me too. And I'll see y'all next time. So peace out.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.